you for tuning in to another edition of Positively Affirmative. This is the show where we affirm you, our listening audience, with education, information, and resources in the areas of self-care, career development, and business building. I am your host, Katrina Jones, Prosperity Life Coach, along with Wanda Miles, radio personality, and program director of Route 664 radio.org.
Yep.
So, welcome, Wanda, and welcome everybody. So Wanda, I was thinking about what we could talk about this week, and the topic of emotional bank account came to me. And I think it's a really good topic, emotional bank account, because for me, I was not always conscious, and sometimes I lose my consciousness when it comes to my relationships with the different people in my life, and my conscious process of what am I doing to build this relationship, or what's happening with this relationship that is not as strong as I want it to be. What do I need to do in order to strengthen this relationship? Is it as strong as I want it to be? Or why is this relationship not a good relationship? When I look at those questions around relationships, emotional bank account comes to my mind. And just like a financial bank account, which we always want our financial bank account to have more than enough, to have plenty. We know that there are some times when our financial bank account, sometimes is there, and then sometimes is down. It can have its ebbs and flows, but we really want to have more coming into our financial bank account than we have going out.
Abundance,
exactly. And so it's the same with our emotional bank account. Our emotional bank account is really the emotions or the energy that we're putting into our relationships with either with ourselves, or the energy that we're putting into our relationships with other people. And those relationships is really interesting, because those relationships can be our business relationships. What is my relationship like with my employer, my boss? What is my relationship with my coworkers? You and I, when we have a friendship, but then when we do things like this, we collaborate, and we have partnerships as well. So what I think about sometimes, what does my relationships look like with the people, my friends? What does my relationship look like with my business partners, with my employer? What is my relationship like with my children?
Here's a tricky one.
Yeah, is my relationship different?
So I hear.
And then even Wanda, is my relationship different with children than it is with adults? And all of that has to do with energy. And what am I doing? What type of energy am I putting into this person, basically? Is it positive, or is it negative? Is it positive, or is it negative? So, an emotional bank account has to do with emotions and how people feel about my interactions with them, and even how I feel about my interactions, how people interact with me, and vice versa. So when we talk about deposits, it could be kindness. It could be acts of kindness, um, which is huge.
Who's keeping
And,
track?
well, good question. A lot of times it's how a person feels about. Okay, so for example, with me, um, say for example, our relationship, how I treat you has a lot to do with how you feel about me. And so really in this instance, you're really the one that's keeping track because you feel some kind of way when we interact with each other. And so if and so I like you a lot, and I think that you are a really cool person, and I'm always consciously trying to um in our interactions, I'm always trying to leave you with more than you had before we interacted. And so that could be emotionally, I want you to feel good about the interaction with me. I want you to leave when we part each other. I want you to feel good about what just happened here.
Okay, don't you want that with everybody, right? You want that kind of?
We do, or we should,
Yeah.
but that's not always the reality.
Okay.
It's just not always the reality. Um, and it's really interesting because, for example, I'm a walker, and so in the mornings I go to the park and I walk, and I pay attention to interactions, and so there's some people that I'm seeing on a regular basis, and it's some people that I can be like, hey, how you doing? Or we do the little thing or whatever to it's a means of, it's like an encouragement, and it's just a high five, and I see you. But then I noticed there are other people who I don't have, even though I'm seeing them, I don't have that interaction with. It's just not, you
They're
know,
probably not into it.
and
It would be my guess. Yeah.
for whatever reason,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we just don't have that interaction, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and so I can deposit in different. I deposit in different individuals differently, or people receive differently. They receive
Definitely.
or they don't.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So you can give and they not, you might think you're giving and you are giving, they're just not receiving. So does that,
Or
yeah.
they may not be receiving the way I,
Oh, definitely.
what my expectations are.
Yeah. People don't receive my sarcasm as much as I. That was hysterical. Come on. Yeah, no, it's true. They
So it's
don't always receive it the same way.
right. But I think that for me, as I began to learn about emotional deposits, emotional bank account, um, even though I don't always consciously think about it in those terms when I'm interacting with people, I am consciously looking at what can I do to make this person feel good. And so it could be something as small as, from, and it's a lot of little small things for me. It could be as small as, I noticed that your hair is lighter, and I like it, and I'm like, oh, Wanda, I like your hair.
Thank
And I
you.
wanted you to know I see you.
And I didn't even know what you were talking about. That's what's even special.
but so to me, and like I said, it wasn't like a conscious deposit, but it was a deposit.
It's genuine, right? I mean, it should feel genuine and not forced and authentic. I sometimes think that people bring out something in me more so than I'm trying to. When it's effortless, I feel like those are the better relationships. Anything that feels like I got to really try, and that seems like a coworker situation where you've got to try to, exist with this person or deposit or try not to withdraw from them.
So, but it's really interesting, Wanda, because like say with my children, well, most of my children are grown, but
How many kids do you have?
well, I have three that's in the house with me now, but I do have children that I've raised who are grown and out the nest. Yeah, yeah. But so right now there are two. Well, I have one of my adult children in the house, and then I have a son who's a teenager that's here, and then I have grandkids that are here. Um, and so with the
So
kids,
little Katrina time.
so with the young ones, and even with the adults when they were younger, you know, sometimes I have to make a withdrawal. I have to say to them, like I may have to confront them about something. And I may have to say, hey, I need you to take a look at this. Or, um, this happened
Yeah.
and I didn't like the way that made me feel. Or, here, there's some responsibilities that you have that, we need to revisit because it's not working.
Yeah.
And it's those are hard conversations, not easy conversations, and they're deposits because of the way it makes that person feel. It may be uncomfortable, they may not even like it, but I feel like if I've made enough deposits in that person's life, then when I have to make a withdrawal, or it could be something I could say something to somebody to make them, that make them feel bad, and they have to go back and apologize later. And I made a withdrawal because of the way that I made them feel, and but
Well, the way you made them feel, I'm gonna take a little issue with it because people are responsible for their own feelings, but how you felt after doing that, you felt bad, so you wanted to go fix that.
or sometimes they
Yeah.
felt bad, or sometimes the way it made them feel.
But I'm saying that you're not really responsible. I mean, if you say something to someone, you're not really wholly responsible for other people's feelings. How they're going to feel
I
is
may
how they're
not
going to feel.
I may not be responsible for how they feel, but I have to acknowledge that how they feel exists,
Okay.
and it's real.
Yeah.
And if they don't see it as a positive, then it's a withdrawal from their emotional bank account. And I'd like to believe that if I've made enough deposits in that person's emotional bank account, when I do make a withdrawal, it won't be so much that it upsets the equilibrium of that relationship.
So they'll be like, okay, you can get away with it this time.
Or not so much that you can get, yeah, yeah, yeah.
They'll let you off the hook, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yep.
Because you gave birth to me, mom, I'll let you get by this time.
Or even in a say a business situation with my employer, it may come time for evaluation, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting, and I used to wonder to myself, like one of my bosses, I used to wonder, how does this man remember all this stuff? And it's not that he remembered, it's that he had pencil and paper, or he had some kind of system of writing down stuff throughout the year. And that's when I learned how to start writing stuff down throughout the year as well.
Oh
But
boy.
anyway, so when it came to evaluation, sometimes there were emotional deposits that were made. Oh, Katrina, you've done this and you've done that, and it was great, and it contributed in this way. And sometimes it may have been, well, here's what you can do better. Sometimes it was coaching moments. Well, here's how this was done, but here's how, maybe it can be done better. Or, what do you feel are some ways that you may be able to improve? And in those instances, it could feel like a withdrawal, an emotional withdrawal from my emotional bank account. But say, for example, with that employer, there had been enough deposits made that if there were ever interactions that seemed uncomfortable, or teaching moments, learning moments, or even sometimes misunderstandings, enough deposits had been made that those withdrawals didn't didn't bankrupt our my emotional bank account with them. But yeah, there are times that, you know, I've been the person that have made withdrawals from people's emotional bank accounts. And there have been times that people have made withdrawals from my emotional bank account. It could be betrayal. It could be misunderstandings, you know, it could be just acts of cruelty.
So where does letting go come into play here?
What do you
I
mean?
mean, because if you're keeping track of things, like if there's an account and there's withdrawals, then at some point, do you just, if there are too many withdrawals, do you just let it go? I mean, where do you wow, what point do you let go? Or in a withdrawal or deposits, like is a deposit you're saying that they owe me?
Not
Or
necessarily.
okay.
No, okay, so let me give you an example. Sometimes I've been in relationships where I felt like there were more withdrawals made from my emotional bank account than there were deposits. And in those instances, I made decisions that this is not working for me. I need to do something different, because this situation is leaving me emotionally withdrawn. And
Bankrupt.
it bankrupt. And it doesn't feel good, doesn't look good, doesn't feel good. And it's not what I want. So in those instances, I've had to make decisions, to maybe remove myself from the situation. Um, so yeah, it's real, and I think that when we can look in those terms, it's just another perspective. It's just another perspective of how to view um, relationships.
Yeah, just understanding people, why they do the things they do, and
Yeah,
why we react the way we do too. It's always nice to understand.
yeah. Communication is not easy
Yeah,
at best. And what I've
that's when we even try to do it. A lot of people don't even communicate. That's a problem. But when you try, it's a challenge too.
exactly. And so having a knowledge, or being able to put a relationship in a perspective of an emotional bank account, for me, it gives me a visual it gives me a visual perspective of what I'm doing in this relationship and how I may be able to make it better. If that's what I choose to do, or
Withdraw your account.
or close my account, or close my account with
I'm out of here.
that situation. Exactly. Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's what I've done mostly. I just find myself in mostly friendships, and I've been very picky about my friends because I just don't want to. There's a lot of people that I will hang out with, and I found just hanging out with people, you pick up energy when you just hang out with people, and a lot of people's energy you don't really want. And
Why is that, Wanda?
because they're downers, they're low vibrating, negative people. And negativity is a virus just as much as the COVID-19 virus that we should be aware of and steer clear of, because when you get around it, it it just weighs you down, and you've got to fly.
Yeah. So it sounds like you find that some relationships make withdrawals from you. They don't make you feel good.
I'd say that I just always peg myself as a sensitive person. So, I just I take responsibility for it. I don't, I know that people are going to be the way they are. When I've the group that I find myself working with now are generally more pessimistic than I am. So I can only take them for so long. Then I'm like, all right, I gotta cheer my own, be my own cheerleader, because you guys are making me think we can't do this. Somebody's got to believe like we can do anything. So yeah, but that's just I feel like that's just me. It may not just be me, but I'm sure there are other people out there that are sensitive to other people's
Energy.
energy. Yeah. So, and I like happy people, and I'd love to be in a group where I am the most pessimistic of the bunch. I'm like, what kind of people? What would that group look like? So that would be
That
really
would be
cool.
that would be interesting because
That
you're a
would be
very
fun.
optimistic person,
Like,
Wanda.
Wanda, you're such a downer. Like, what? Nobody's ever said that about me. Cool. So that's what I'm looking for. But meanwhile, we've got to live here on planet Earth or under the sea.
And I think it's so important for people to understand energy and to be able to see energy from different perspectives. And emotional bank account is just one perspective, one way to look at energy, negative energy versus positive energy. And it's real, and it's important to ask the question. Um, the people that I'm around, are they making deposits or withdrawals from me emotionally? When I leave this situation, how does it make me feel? Um, I think that's important. I think it's important because energy is contagious.
It is.
And to be around negative energy all the time, it does drain us. It can drain us. And if we're not careful, if we're around negativity all the time, we'll find ourselves
Oh, you'll get swept up in it.
being negative as well, making withdrawals from our own emotional bank accounts.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I am an observer of people. I mean, I'm a coach, and I teach, and I have a background in social work, and so we're lucky to be able to learn about energy. We're very lucky to learn how to harness our energy. That's a beautiful thing to be able to do. but not everybody,
And replenish it too.
and replenish, but not everybody is on that path. And I can remember a time in my life when I used to wonder and pray, God, please put me around positive people. I want positive friends in my life. I want positive situations in my life. And then I had to learn, Spirit said to me, well, you got to be a positive person. The
Yeah.
the type of people that you want in your life, you have to be that type of person.
Yeah.
And so I had work to do, and then I continued the work. And so paying attention to my emotional bank account and paying attention to not necessarily that I can know what's in somebody else's emotional bank account, but I can know what I'm giving. I know what I'm giving. If I pay attention, I can know that I'm giving a withdrawal or that I'm giving a deposit. And that's where I want to be. I want to be aware of, what kind of energy am I giving
No,
out?
when you give someone how that person receives it and how you intended it, if that's if those are two different things, how do you rectify that? How do you?
I don't know if I necessarily can, because like you said, it's not, I can't be responsible for how someone else perceives
Right.
what I do or how I do it.
Right.
But I try to be sensitive enough to, it's part of my work. And I think it is a part of who I am, but it is part of my work to be sensitive enough um, to be able to pick up on clues that, this person was able to receive what I said or what I did, or they were not able to receive it.
Would that be kind of the case? You'd say, so what I said, what did you hear, kind of thing? Yeah.
Sometimes,
Okay.
sometimes, but like say for the example that I gave of being in the park, hey, I speak to some people and they don't respond, and I can't do anything about that. But
Yeah.
and I was thinking about it, and I'm like, because I'm like, this is really interesting. When you do something over time, and even though you don't know these people personally, you share a space with them,
Yeah.
and you become familiar. You become familiars in that environment.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
and
On the trail.
on the trail, right? And so, I can't be responsible for how somebody else receives what I put out, but I can be responsible for knowing what my intention is and
Yeah.
what in putting out, what I put out, which, I try to make it uh deposits, emotional deposits,
I
yeah.
bet. I bet you do.
um and so I don't want to get into it a lot today, but I want to talk a little bit about emotional deposits, a little bit more about emotional deposits. And as I was thinking about emotional deposits, thought about Gary Chapman, who is a psychologist,
Not the singer.
not the singer, not the singer. He is a psychologist, and he wrote this book called The Five Love Languages, and it's become his brand. It's
Yeah.
amazing,
Yeah. Yeah.
amazing.
I have heard of this.
Yeah, and so he talks about the five love languages, which are words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts,
Mm.
acts of service, and physical touch.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, he talks about a lot of times, whatever our gift, whatever our love language is, we tend to respond to other people in our love language.
Right.
And if our love language is not the same as that other person's love language, they may not receive us well. And
Or we get upset because they're not
receiving us well.
receiving us well. Like,
Exactly.
I gave you this and you didn't say thank you.
Exactly. So if my love language, well, actually, my love language is words of affirmation. Words are important to me, and very important. And so I'm always trying to be positive and thoughtful and mindful with my words. Um, but it's interesting, my mom, her love language was gifts. And it took me and I would see it, but it took years for it to click, for me to understand that's her love language. Cause she'd get gifts and wouldn't even do nothing with them. But it was just the fact that she got it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And when I understood that was her love language, I was able to understand her differently. I was able to receive her differently, and I was able to um, communicate with her differently, and I was able to deposit in her better. I was able to give more deposits than withdrawals. And so I think it is, this five love languages is really good. And I think it's worth understanding.
A whole other show.
Whole nother show.
Yeah.
But I think it's worth understanding when it comes to wanting to provide emotional deposits into whether it's our friends, our spouses, significant others, our children, um, other family members, whoever it is. Understanding, having an understanding of what makes them tick, how they think, how they perceive the world, basically, um, helps me to communicate with them more effectively.
Yeah. Speaking their language.
Helps me to speak their language, helps me to provide more emotional deposits into their life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is basically what I wanted to say about emotional deposits and emotional withdrawals, being able to understand that it's just another metaphor for how we communicate with ourselves and others, because we can deposit into ourselves as well with deposits or withdrawals. And we always, whoever we are communicating with, we always want to be able to provide more deposits than withdrawals, because when times come where we need to withdraw from that person, we won't, it won't be, hopefully, the withdrawal won't be so much that we leave this situation bankrupt or overdrawn. That's what we don't want.
Definitely.
So, any last thoughts about that, Wanda?
No, I've learned a lot about the account keeping of, of one's love and heart. And no, it's good stuff. I'd love to dig into more of the 5 languages.
That would, that would
I
be a
think
great.
yeah,
And maybe we can do that next.
sure. It would, yeah. Let's stay on track.
Yeah.
Part 2.
Absolutely.
Speaking the language of the love.
And knowing your love language, absolutely. Oh. So we are going to bring this edition of Positively Affirmative to a close. And we'd like to thank you for tuning in. I am Katrina Jones, Prosperity Life Coach, and I would like to say, if this has been helpful to you, please subscribe, like, share, and please tune in to another edition, and also go to Route 664 Radio, because it is the road to human kindness. It's great music,
Great
listening, and some education, a little bit of education about social
charitable giving, really.
security. Social security.
Social security is what we call it, but it's planning your money charitably.
And I love that. And that's another show which we're going to get to. But Wanda, the other day I was looking at my this for another show. It's off topic. I was looking at how much I'm going to get when I retire from Social Security, and I was a little bit upset about what's going to happen to my money if I even get it.
No, this is a show for less one of these days.
It is.
I have to get him on.
I'd rather give my money to Social Security.
Yep.
Honestly. But that's another show.
All right. We've got a lot coming up.
All right, everybody. All right. So have a great week, and we will see you. We'll see you again. All right, Wanda. You have a great evening, okay?
Have a happy weekend.